Hello, this is Chris Heasley with the Chris Heasley Radio Show. And today's show is dedicated to the elderly of Fort Bend County, to our senior citizens, our retirees of Fort Bend County, because it is those people that typically get forgotten in the decisions of our county affairs. And it is those people that typically get hurt the most. They get hit the hardest more than anyone else because they are outside of their best earning years. They're outside of those earning years, and they're on fixed incomes. Fixed incomes it cannot be moved. And the county officials, they're not really concerned with that. All they're concerned with is passing the next bond, passing the next tax raise, attaining more debt. They don't have any interest in paying off that debt. They just want to expand their sphere of influence over matters pertaining to the county, because what that does is it strengthens their position in the political office. It means that more money gets donated to their coffers, ensuring that their name becomes a brand name across the county and they are impenetrable. That's what their goal is. And who gets hurt in that process? The elderly. The elderly get hurt. So when you hear about county officials and they want to take on one more new expansive project, one more new shiny building, sports complex, entertainment center, everyone should take a pause and breathe for the elderly. Everyone should take a second consideration for the elderly, because those sports centers, those arenas, those projects, they never pan out financially, ever. And we all know this. And who bears the brunt of it? Not the county officials that get it passed, not the county officials that have the ribbon cutting ceremonies. The people that bear the brunt of it are the taxpayers, but more importantly, it's the elderly. And you understand, as these taxes continue to increase, and the entire purpose of this episode is to talk about the insanity in the Fort Bend County Commissioner's Court right now, because these people they're drunks. They're spending like a drunkard. They continue to rack on the debt. Today, Fort Bend County is in the top 1% of all, I think it's 264 counties in the state of Texas. We're top 1% in debt in the state of Texas. That's a problem. The sirens should be going off in your head. Alert, alert, alert. We have a problem in the Fort Bend County Commissioner's Court, okay? And who's going to get hurt? The people that are going to get hurt are the elderly. No one cares about them. So what happens to the elderly when we get in this situation? They're on fixed incomes. They have no capacity for these raising in taxes, and they get put in a dangerous, perilous position. They stress. It's not good for their health. They pass away. They have increased medical costs. When you put pressure on our elderly like that, it's never good for them. No one cares about the elderly. We need to put them first, not the county commissioners. Okay? So what happens? And then that margin in their bills and income just gets smaller, smaller, smaller. And then what do? They have to move in with their family, or worse. We see the homeless on every street corner. And I want you to think about these homeless people, okay? We see them. A lot of them are everyday people like you and I that got put in a bad situation because of this very poor economy and the debt that keeps racking up by political officials on your and mine, on our backs. And it has to end. And it's time for us to do something about that. And so that's the purpose of today's show. And we have guests in the show that asked to bring this to the forefront. My phone's been ringing off the hook from Greg Barnes for 90 days, wanting to bring this topic to the show. And we have Kenneth Amore, who is running for county judge. So we're going to talk about that. First, I want to introduce Greg. How are you doing today?
Great.
Good. So Greg Barnes is with the Rosenberg Richmond Helping Hands.
Correct.
Okay, we're going to talk about that in a second. And we have with him Becky Watts. Becky, how are you doing?
I'm great, thank you.
Becky is a lifelong Sugar Land resident, or Fort Bend County resident. Mm-hmm. Very few of those around, yes. Right? So you've seen it all.
That's right.
And you're also with the Rosenberg Richmond Helping Hands, correct?
Correct.
And then we have Kenneth Amore, candidate for Fort Bend County judge. And in general, the only reason that people are talking about this right now, largely, one of the main reasons is because Kenneth is making this a primary issue of his campaign. So when all of the other candidates are running from the issue, Kenneth is running to it. Okay? So what I'm trying to say again is that when these county commissioners, when they voted on this stuff, they have no intention of paying it. But Kenneth is going to bring to us today, he's going to state the degree of the issue and some potential solutions for it. And with that, that's our show. So I want to thank all of you for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and let's just start off with the Rosenberg Richmond Helping Hands. As I understand it, that's a group specifically dedicated to our elderly in Fort Bend County. Is that correct?
Well, it's not specifically to the elderly; it's to the people in need in Fort Bend County.
Okay.
We service everyone from the young family all the way up to the elderly. But we have a lot of elderly folks that are clients.
Okay.
Yes.
Tell us more about it.
Well-
Floor is yours.
Helping Hands. We're celebrating our 40th anniversary. A lot of people don't know about us, but we are a faith-based organization. We accept, at this time, no government funds other than via a grant. We are supported by the local churches. It was actually started by local churches in Fort Bend County. We do not charge our clients for any of our services. Primarily, it's food and clothing. We do some light financial assistance, but it's very rare because we simply don't have the funds to do it.
Okay.
So,
Becky, tell us about what you do for Helping Hands and what your involvement is in the organization.
Okay, so I've been there since January, and I am their development director. What I'm doing, I'm part-time, so I'm helping them raise money on special events. And so, as Greg mentioned, we just had our 40th anniversary that we're celebrating, and we will have one more event this year, and that's the bingo event that I wanted to share with you.
Very good.
About.
Excellent. Okay, we'll make sure we get all the details
Okay.
on about that before the show's over. So, can you give me an idea to what extent does the Helping Hands help our homeless, our people in need in Fort Bend County? What kind of reach does it have?
well, we primarily service the west end of Fort Bend County. I'm going to say from the edge of Sugarland all the way out to the Beasley, down to Needville, and up to southern Katy. I think it would shock people, Chris, with the number of people that or the amount of homeless that we have in Fort Bend County. They've become a little bit invisible, but they're there, and they're there in quite a few numbers. We see it every day, and it's growing. What really alarms us at Helping Hands more than anything is the number of elderly citizens of Fort Bend County that are becoming homeless and more in need because of rising cost of living. And it's truly alarming. And we see a lot of elderly folks that are literally going hungry, that are living hand to mouth just on very, very little food. And that's something that we strive to the best of our ability to at least give them food, to at least have them where they can have 3 square meals a day. And that's difficult. That's difficult.
You know, one of the questions I think we all need to ask ourselves is, why are we a first world country becoming a third world country?
It's a great question.
You know, the first indications that you're becoming a third world country is when your political officials begin racking on the debt, heaping the debt on the backs of the people, and then the homeless begin. And it's, I don't see anyone addressing this in our county government, in our governments in general. But I think that it's really cause for alarm. And I think that Americans, people of Fort Bend County, people of Texas, can no longer just drive by these homeless and pretend that we don't have an affair here. You know, we have a stake in this. And I think that the answer is to take an active role in your county government. Can you share any personal stories of any of the people that you've helped?
Yeah, so a couple here. I want people to understand that in Fort Bend County, and I'm sure it's around the state as well, and around our nation, the sequence goes a lot like this. So a husband and wife work very hard. They do their duty. They raise their family. They do everything the right way, if you will. They retire. Most people, most elderly people, if you look at them, they are primarily retired on Social Security. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it's a reality. So they're rocking along, and they're making it. It's tough, but every year their taxes go up. Every year the inflation keeps pressing the cost of food and things up. And then all of a sudden something very tragic happens. One or the other passes away. So now they're a single spouse. And that Social Security that was coming in has all of a sudden been cut in half. So now they can't pay their taxes. They can't put food on the table. And it's a disturbing thing. One of the stories I like to share is a client that's become very dear to me. I call her Grandma. We're very close in age. She's in her 70s. But one of the real epidemics out there are the number of grandparents that are having to raise their grandkids.
Talk about that.
Tough deal. So this very nice lady, very elegant lady, by the way, is raising 8 grandchildren alone. So what that's forced her to do is to try to find something at that age that she can go back and earn some living. So she's doing a part-time job, making not very much money. And then she comes to us looking for additional food to feed those kids and feed herself. And it's heartbreaking to see her. She's done the right thing. She lived a good life. She lived a Christian life. She's doing the Christian thing by taking care of those grandkids. She's doing the right thing. But where are we as a society to better support people out here that are doing the right thing? I'll be the first person to say there are people out here that abuse the system. They need to go away. We need to do a better job of supporting and taking care of people that have done the right thing, and we're not.
Becky, I want to ask, what was it that
Yes.
caused you to get involved in this organization?
Well, as I mentioned, I've been in Fort Bend for quite some time. Rosenberg Richmond Helping Hands was there when my kids were a lot younger. We would go there and serve, and the mission still is the same. It's helping people. And so I've seen this in action for all these years, and that's what drew me back. And it's very close to my home, too. I mean, that's my community. That's what drew me there.
Good for you.
Just the
yeah,
need.
it's very
Mhm.
good for
It's very neat.
you being a lifelong community member and then taking an active role in your county. You know, it's what we need more of.
Right.
Absolutely. Kenneth, you're up.
I-
I know, like, tell us about the state of Fort Bend County. Tell us about the state of homelessness in Fort Bend County.
No, I'm just here, just blown away, just listening to Greg and everything he's saying resonates because I was one of those who was raised by a single mother. I can only imagine the story you just shared, a grandmother raising 8 children, and with the way and manner in which the society, our community, our leadership, especially our county leadership, I'll put it like that, all of the actions that are being taken at the leadership level in the county impact on the residents. And you both see firsthand impact of these because I'm sure you can tell stories from a few years back and compare that. Okay, just compare that vis-a-vis what we are seeing today. It is heartbreaking. And when I look at it from the numbers perspective, I'm an accountant primarily, so my view about how I perceive these issues is from the numbers. You can't expect to sow corn and reap rice. It doesn't work that way. So what you sow, that's what you reap, right? Just between the space of 5 years, the last time I was at this show, I compared 8 years. Just within the last 5 years, our debt has increased. Basically, it's almost doubled. Today, Fort Bend County debt has reached a staggering $2.something billion in total obligations, even for the next fiscal year that is coming. I was reading the Fort Bend Independent, and I was looking at some really, really staggering numbers. Let me break that down. That basically represents, is a crisis that has more than doubled in recent years. Fort Bend County debt between 2020 and 2025 has doubled by more than $1 billion. Now, bringing it home to the question that you've raised, what that means is that we pay for this debt. Is think about it as a credit card, okay? While most counties are doing everything to make sure they bring down the credit card debt they have, our county is maximizing our credit card debt. That's not just fiscal irresponsibility. I'll call that fiscal rascality. We as professionals, I'm a CPA, we intend to ensure we bring fiscal responsibility so that the impact of this will be mitigated on our senior citizens. These are the people who are the biggest hit when there are increases in these taxes and the inflation that we're experiencing in the country. When somebody's on a fixed income, for example, right, most of these seniors, like you mentioned, about 1,900, that's the median Social Security amount that they get. The cost of taxes alone, averagely in our county, is about 22% of that amount. And that should concern anybody.
You know, I made a pretty bold statement when I started this with my opening monologue, and I essentially said that our Fort Bend County commissioners spend like a bunch of drunks. But I want to point out the Fort Bend Independent. What does it say about our Fort Bend County commissioners? Quote, this is from the Fort Bend Independent on this very subject. Quote, the latest binge borrowing is bound to enhance the county's dubious distinction of being in the top 10 most indebted counties in Texas, unquote. So there you have it. We have more debt in this county than nearly every county in the state of Texas.
We have 254 counties in Texas. Fort Bend County rank 1 to 3, number 3, among top 3 counties that have the highest debt per capita. So you break down the number of people in the county divided by the amount of we owe in debt. We are number 3 in that ranking. Basically, every resident of Fort Bend County, whether they like it or not, they are owing an average of more than $2,000 when you make that divide. In breaking it down to what we call debt service tax, in 2020, every $100 was taxed at 7 cents. In 2025, every $100 is taxed at 12 cents per $100. Just to bring that into perspective.
Well, Greg, I mean, you heard me speak in the beginning, and I said that this weighs on the backs of our elderly more than anyone else. What do you think?
Let me bring something home here to everybody. And I want you to think about your mom, your dad, your grandmother, your grandfather out there. Think about your kids. So we have put the citizens of Fort Bend County in a position to make a choice every day. Do I buy milk? Do I buy a loaf of bread? Don't undersell this. This is real. There are people out there literally that are having to go and look on a store shelf and decide, today, can I buy milk for the cereal for my kids? Can I buy a little bit of creamer and a little bit of coffee? Maybe we can have some coffee this week. That's real. That's not a statistic. I appreciate all the statistics, Kenneth. But what we deal with is reality. Right. And we look at reality every day at Helping Hands. Wow. These are people that are coming in, some of the finest people. Chris, one of the things that blows me away, has blown me away, I've been there about 5 years now, the faith of the people that come in our doors. Here are people that don't have 2 nickels to rub together. But if you ask them about, do you believe in God, or do you believe in if you trust, most of them, 99% of them will always profess that without God they are nothing. I think when people really get down on their luck, I know in some of my personal life that when I've had some serious illnesses in the family, or people have been in really dire straits, it's an old country saying, I found my knees. And you hit your knees and you pray to God for help and for love and for forgiveness and relief, heavy on the relief. Help my family member get better. Right. Help me get through this financial crisis. Mm. We have a whole class of people out there that are literally on their knees every day saying, God, help me find food for my family. Help me be able to pay my bills. Help me not get thrown out of my house. Not because I don't own my home, and I've spoken to you about this before, Kenneth. They own their home,
Right.
but they can't pay the taxes now.
Right, right. So that really breaks my heart. You know why that breaks my heart is because if we were dealing with a situation where we don't have money, okay, we don't have the money, and I'm talking about as a government, as a as county leadership, that's a separate issue. How do we find revenue? I have consistently said this in this show, and I will say it again. We do not have a revenue generation problem in Fort Bend County. What we have is a spending problem. And let me tell you that with some numbers to back it up. With the next budget that we're looking at, there's what we call a revenue gap already. We're expecting a revenue of about $221 million. But you know how much we're expected to spend? About revenue of $721 million, 721, and we're expected to spend about $760 million. How do you plan when you know a situation whereby what you're expecting is less than what you want to spend?
Doesn't work in my household budget. I'm not allowed to spend more than I make.
Thank you. That should be. There's already a gap of close to 30, nearly $30 million in revenue gap right there. If you compare that between what we're expecting and what we're expecting to get and what we're gonna spend, that revenue gap already is an issue, and we should not be living like that as a county.
I want to jump back to Greg's point. I mean, in the end, it's the individual that gets hurt. And I really appreciate Greg's point because, these people are coming to Helping Hands with a handout, and that group is so generous to help. But the quality of the people, what Greg was mentioning, the quality of the people that are going to Helping Hands, we assert with people that are impoverished sort of a low quality value of person. That is such a disservice. Mm-hmm. The truth is that when a person is in duress, they grow intellectually. It is when you are in your toughest times that you find out what the true values in life are about. And so I think that we need to quit asserting with people that have wealth this idea that they are somehow more astute than the commoner on the street, than the person that is having a tough time. Because in my opinion, it is those people that are in the tough spots that actually find out what life's all about. They can relate to others, and they should be the ones that get put in a political post. On the show, we have had on the show candidates who were not polished. They weren't extensive with the English language. They weren't the presentable politician, but they had a better understanding of life, and they were running for public office. They had a better understanding of life, and they were more emotionally committed to service than the polished, smooth politician. And I just want to put that shout out there for those people that are in a difficult spot, that you actually may be some of the most intelligent people that we have in our community.
Yeah, that's a great point. We see the whole gamut at Helping Hands, and I'm not going to sit here and try to mislead you. We see some people out there that have had issues with drugs and have had issues with homelessness their entire life, and it's tough. It's tough for them. But we see so many people that have inadvertently come on a medical. We have a gentleman that has become one of our favorites, and we've helped him to get into some therapy, and it's just been a blessing. But he had a form of arthritis that made the joints on his finger, all of his fingers, swell up almost to the size of a plum, where he couldn't use his fingers at all. Now, what do you tell a gentleman like that, who, through no fault of his own, he can't work, he can't survive, so he needs help? We need to help those people. But more to your point, are you talking about people that this misconception about low intelligence? We have school teachers, we have retired nurses, we have the entire range of people that in their professional life did something special.
Right.
Poverty does not ignore anyone. It can happen to anyone.
I want to give a shout out to our featured product on the show. It is the X39 patch. Since Greg was talking about arthritis in hands, this X39 patch, what it does is it stimulates your stem cells in your body. It's an amazing technology. It's cutting edge, and essentially your body emits light. And what the X39 patch is, it reflects the light back into your body, and it stimulates your stem cells. Stem cells are what heal your body. They're and largely because of the foods that we've eaten and things of those sort, our stem cells have been suppressed. So we're all walking around lethargic, tired, hurting, aching. And what this does, it brings things back to life, sometimes in a minute. I will talk one story. Pedro is a carpenter, and he has a lifelong of hammering nails. And his hand has all the arthritis, all the swelling. It went away in less than a month because of the X39 patch. I have a friend who is a PTSD war veteran, and he has to deal with issues because of that. He has to take heavy sleep meds to sleep at night. He takes the X39 patch. Within 2 weeks, he no longer needs sleep meds to sleep at night. Maria in Fort Worth fell and hit her head. For 1 decade, she had severe headaches. She takes the X39 patch, and the headaches go away. David had spots in his eyes. His eyes were increasingly getting worse. He takes the X39 patch. He no longer needs glasses. As for myself, I take the X39 patch. I no longer need caffeine. I work out. I work. I have an intense week. I take the X39 patch. I wake up at the crack of dawn, 5 a.m., roll out of bed sharp as a tack, and I'm going to work. Also, for men who over their 40s, what happens is that your bladder, you get that pressure on the bladder. You have to go to the bathroom every 2 minutes. That largely goes away. For me, it did anyways with the X39 patch. It's liberating. The X39 patch, to learn more about it and to receive a considerable discount on it, text the word PATRIOT to 330-606-2304. PATRIOT to 330-606-2304. You know, guys, I really enjoy this conversation, and I think that one of the things, I appreciate the fact that Kenneth is going to give us all the facts, the data, but I think the one thing that needs to come out is brotherly love. You know, we have to come together for the sake of our people that are in need. And it doesn't mean to bring your wallet book out. We don't need that. We need an active role in your county affairs. That's what needs to happen.
So,
Go, please.
if I might, I want to say, and this is certainly to your point, the people of Fort Bend County are incredibly generous.
Yes.
When we ask people to step forward, and I'm not talking about, like you say, with $1 million checks. We're talking about we need cans of corn and cans of green bean. They step forward. $5, $10. It's so impactful and so important to us to have that. We have to be able to operate every day. So they do a great job. What we need at this point, the people are there. The people need the leadership of the county. They need the leadership of the state to say, you know what, we hear you. We understand what you're saying. We see the need. And we're going to step up and lead in that fight to eliminate this issue. And today, quite frankly, we don't have that leadership, and we've got to find it.
Let me quickly touch on, again, so some of the things, I'm a very big supporter of course, hard work, right? I mean, we're talking about our senior citizens who have put in this hard work over their lifetime, and now because of situations sometimes that they didn't put themselves in, they're having to deal with. But today, the state of our relief programs, even for the elderly, is at a very abysmal level. Okay, Fort Bend County Housing Rehabilitation Program, for example, that serves low to moderate income families, is limited in scope. Don't know if you're aware of that. It's very limited. Only one Section 8 senior housing property exists in the entire county. Okay.
Where's your homeless shelter in Fort Bend County, Ken?
So no, I mean I'm telling you.
No, I'm asking you, where is it? There isn't one.
So correct.
The closest homeless shelter that can help our homeless people get off the street when it's extremely cold
Right.
or extremely hot
Right.
is downtown Houston. If they could get to downtown Houston, they wouldn't be homeless.
Wow.
So what do? They get under the bridge. We give them a blanket.
Exactly.
and some food to get by, and hope to God they don't freeze at night.
Right. So that right there is something that we can look into in leadership, right? Leadership can look into. I mean, you're talking about people who are seniors who are on a fixed income of about $1,900, on a monthly Social Security, facing $5,000 in annual property tax bill. Do you know how many of our seniors have moved out of the neighborhood that they've been because they cannot afford their annual property taxes? I mean, these are things that he's talking about that we need to, as within the leadership, focus on.
Well, one of the things that's really happening, and we're seeing it, and once again, heartbreaking, senior citizen can't afford the taxes anymore on a home that they own. I'm going to keep stressing that because I own my home. And I remember when I told my wife, when we made the last payment on that home, I said, hallelujah. Look at all that money every month that we're going to have that we don't have to pay anymore. She said, well, you big dummy. Remember that you have to pay your taxes.
Right.
And you have to pay your HOA fees.
Right.
It's my taxes and fees on my home today are more, twice as much more than the first home that I ever bought as a young adult. I'm 70 years old.
Wow.
That's ludicrous.
Right.
Back when we had our last presidential election, there was a young lady running as a Democrat who told everybody we're going to start charging you on unearned income. And we all had a fit. Oh, my God, we can't do that.
I remember that.
You can't tax my assets because it's not liquid.
Right.
Well, explain to me the difference in taxing an elderly person on a home that they own.
All right.
What's the difference between that and what she was proposing? And we as good conservatives out here should be standing up and yelling, stop.
Right. I mean, these are long-term residents that are being displaced from neighborhoods, right? That they've
Absolutely.
built, all their lives.
And we've got a lot of people close out there.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there are a lot of people that are teetering on that edge. And if we don't address this problem and address it soon, the issue is going to get much, much larger, and it's going to shock people.
No, I personally, I think there needs to be what we call a comprehensive tax freeze. Okay, we extend the tax ceiling to all taxing entities for seniors that are 65 years and above. That is what I would definitely be proposing.
Chris, I live in a neighborhood that's 55 plus. We don't have children. We don't have school buses. We don't have schools in our neighborhood. We don't need them. So we went to the school district and we said, we appreciate, you educating the children and everything, but we're not availing ourselves of your service anymore. So we understand you need some taxes, but you're killing us here. And the basic answer was, sorry. And we said, well, why? Why can't you help us out here? We're looking for help for the elderly and for the disabled. And the answer is because typically the elderly are very responsible about paying their taxes, and we need your money. So, sorry, that's not a good answer.
Right.
Okay, well, I got a question for Kenneth because, there's so many more things I could talk about with Greg about, this declining incomes, our continued state of, dangerous levels of impoverishment. What are the solutions? Okay, I love the idea. A permanent freeze on taxes.
Right.
What are the solutions to get us out of this situation? $2 billion. Fort Bend County's total debt obligation is $2 billion. I mean, what do we do?
So again, here's what I would suggest. When we are bleeding, okay, when you, God forbid, you have an incident where you're bleeding, the first thing the doctor wants to do is to stop the bleeding, right? We are already in debt. We currently pay more than $160 million in debt service as a county, meaning your credit card.
Meaning interest.
Interest, yes.
That's $160 million a year.
A year, correct.
Fort Bend County, 800,000 people, has to come up with $160 million just to pay the bar tab of our
Right.
county commissioner's court,
Right.
right? And what I mean by that is just to pay the debt service. In other words, they're spending like
Right.
they're at the bar,
Right.
handing out drinks to their friends.
Right.
And we got to come up with that money to pay that bar
The
tab.
interest, correct. So the first thing that we need to do is to put a stop to the bleeding. How do you put a stop to this bleeding? We need to, one of the things we can do is to stop some of those fancy projects where the more we take on some of these fancy projects that we're doing, the more we are, inclined to wanting to finance this, maybe through issuing out more debt that incurs more interest, right? The core mission of a county, there is a reason a county government was set up in the first place. There are 3 of them. And I broke them down to PPP. It's public emergency preparedness, public infrastructural development, and public safety. Most of the reasons why we are in this situation that we are in is because we have veered away from the core mission. When the purpose of a thing is not known, abuses becomes inevitable. We have veered away from the core mission, the core reason why a county government was set up.
All right, but you're talking. You want to go and you want freezes on taxes, and you want to stop expansive projects by the county. The
Stop
county
the
commissioner's
bleeding.
court has a different view.
Stop the
Let me read
bleeding.
here. So from the Fort Bend Independent, the latest scheme is the proposed convention center and parking garages and a hotel adjacent to the epicenter. So we have the Fort Bend County epicenter, and they want to build out on top of it garages and hotel. The county will fund the parking garages and convention center at approximately $160 million. So what are we doing here? Here we are, the citizens saying, stop spending, and the county's got the gas pedal down. They're ready to take on more debt.
We need to not only stop the bleeding, we need to also channel our focus into refinancing some of those existing bonds so that we can capture lower interest rates. Okay, there are cities that have done this. I was doing some research and I found out Norfolk in Virginia, they saved more than $2 million just through these the examples of what I'm giving. We need to refinance the existing bond so that we can capture
Okay,
lower
but when
interest rate, for example.
should you get elected, and you're going to have a lobbyist arm, a K Street that's forming in Fort Bend County that's going to come down with a heavy pressure on you to fund this convention center.
Well, it boils down to the will. I always say where there's a will, there's a way. It's not a problem of whether there's going to be a pressure. It's a problem of, do you have the wherewithal to be able to withstand those pressure? Because if I know what is good for our people, for our county, for our senior citizens, for people who we know have broken their backs just to make our county what it is today, and we're in a position to take decisions that will be of benefit to them, we compare. It's like making sure that we take the decisions that will benefit our citizens the most.
Let me ask you,
not special interests.
let me ask you a question. This new convention center and parking garage confuses me, and maybe I'm just not very bright, but I drive by the epicenter all the time, weekends, daytime, ain't nobody there. I'm sorry, there's no one there.
It's on 59, right?
I think it is. Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
the only thing that I see activity is making sure they keep the weeds out of the cracks in the parking lot.
I see a big empty parking lot.
A big empty parking lot. A big empty building to start with. What? So the solution to getting now, God bless them, they found a place for the professional volleyball league to play. How's that working out for
Right.
you? I'd like to know what kind of return the county's getting on that. But the solution to the problem that you've got this huge empty building and this huge empty parking lot, I know how we'll fix it. Let's build another parking
Right,
garage
right.
so that can sit there empty too.
Exactly.
Because
So-
Greg, those volleyball games, it's gonna be as big as the World Cup, right?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that.
We're gonna get the overflowing crowds.
Man, I don't want to talk bad about the volleyball players. They're probably fine
Yeah.
people, but I just don't think that they're putting
I mean, we could put a
30,000
volleyball net up
people in there.
anywhere, right?
Yeah, you know.
So,
So-
think about this, right? How about requiring voter approval for debts that are exceeding constitutional
Okay, but
limits?
there's one issue with that. That when that happens, those county officials go out and they work it harder than the citizens. They go out and they sell it and they, how about a new county administration that makes an active stance against large infrastructure projects outside of the roads and things of that sort, that takes an active stance against that and takes an active stance against debt.
Yes,
And proactive, vocally, at
yes.
every commissioner court meeting.
Correct. So one of the things that we would like to implement is also limiting the county debt to 5% of our property tax. Okay? The county's debt, you limit that to 5% of our property taxes.
But Kenneth, if you don't limit the ability of the county to stick its citizens with a higher tax rate, listen, that's the problem with. God bless the state legislature for giving senior citizens. Our homestead exemption is going up to, I believe, it's $200,000. Bravo, wonderful idea. The only problem is they didn't close the loop underneath it that allows
Correct.
municipalities, counties, and school districts to come right in behind that and to see that gap. Well,
Okay, you need to explain this one again from the top. I want to hear this whole thing. What-
okay. So there is allowance in state law, and I'm probably not explaining this exactly correctly. You probably know it better than me. But when you give tax relief in one area, city, county, municipality, school districts can look at that relief and say, you know what, there's an additional
Yeah.
2 or 3 cents per hundred that they've relieved them up there. So there's a gap there for us, and we have the legal ability. I believe they can raise it up to 3.2 cents without even going to the voter.
That's why I talked about earlier on. I said we can extend the tax freeze to all capital letters, all taxing entities for seniors that are 65 and above.
I want to say, on Greg,
Freeze.
tell me if I got this right. So the state lowered tax by so many points, and then in our Fort Bend ISD school board, what happened is that all of a sudden they wanted to fill that gap up, and there was this huge debate within the school board trustees. Some of them wanted to go real heavy with the tax, and some of them didn't, and they had to meet in the middle. Okay. And what happened with that tax, according to Adam Schoof, who's a Fort Bend Independent School District trustee, is that the tax happened in the middle, and it was the whole goal of it was to give better salaries to the teachers, and that never happened. What happened is that the taxes on the teachers raised more than any increase in income that they would have. And so that's the scenario that you're
That's
warning
exactly
us
what I'm
about.
talking about. And if you talk to state legislators who are honest with you, they will all tell you that is exactly the problem. It doesn't go far enough. They haven't closed the backside gaps for people.
Right.
And until you do that,
Right.
then does it help? Yes. Does it go far enough? No.
I tell you, no senior citizen should pay more than 15% of their income on property taxes.
Okay, well, let me give you another little scenario. And I don't think there are very, very many people in Fort Bend County that are even aware of that. So back in the, I'm going to say, and I may be wrong with my dates here, Chris, but I believe it was around 2018, the state came out and they said, we're going to give a property tax relief, and we're going to raise the homestead exemption. And I believe it was up to 100. I believe it was 120,000. Everybody said, "Yay, hooray! That's a great deal." But when they worded the bill, it didn't include seniors and disabled people. So guess who didn't get it? Because we already got more than the other people, so we didn't need any more. It just wasn't worded very well. So we, as gray warriors that we are, we went to the state and said, "Well, hey, wait a minute here. This is wrong." So they came back and they did it again. The wording again wasn't exactly like it should have been. So when we filed exemptions with the county said, "No, Sorry. When I read the law, it reads a different way. So we're not going to give that to you. So we have to do it again. They finally got it right. But, we went 4 or 5 years with not getting the tax relief that we were entitled to.
Wow.
Do you think we got a check that said, here's where we didn't do you right from 5 years ago? Here's your makeup check? No. And I get it. Sometimes government doesn't work the way that you want it to. But we've got to quit doing this. This is insanity. And it continues with things like the Epicenter and parking garages.
Right.
Now, if some corporation, if Hilton or someone like that wants to come in and build a hotel, God bless them. Come in.
They're never going to come in unless they get a tax. They get the county matching with funds.
Absolutely.
So build it with your own money, buy the land on your own. No more private-public partnerships.
So what is wrong with, I was in business for a lot of years. What is wrong with saying, Hilton, you want to come in and you want to build this property by the Epicenter and take advantage of that? Great. You buy the property, you put the hotel up. And oh, by the way, we need a new parking garage out there. Tell you what I'll do. Let's go splitters on it. I'll donate the land. I'll get involved at some level. And then whatever parking revenue there is, we'll split it at some level.
I'd like to propose the idea that we get away from the concept that sports venues should be done by county governments.
It's ridiculous.
Guys, we have to finish up there. I want to, first of all, Becky is dying to talk about her bingo event.
Yes, I am.
So we got it. Go ahead.
Okay,
You're
this
up.
has been very interesting, and I got some new things I'm going to be looking into. But yes, let me tell you about our Super Bingo that Rosenberg Richmond Helping Hands is putting on. Again, this is our 40th anniversary. We are going to have a great time playing bingo on November 13th, 2025. It's a Thursday night at the Rosenberg Civic Center. We have sponsorships available. And let me go ahead and thank some of our sponsors, if it's okay. We
Please.
have Classic Chevrolet in Sugar Land is one of our sponsors, as well as Legacy Ford. We thank our many sponsors for helping us. Odyssey Engineering Group, as well as C Environmental. They are sponsoring our group. Besides having a good time playing bingo, we also have an awesome raffle that we got some beautiful furniture that was donated to us from the American Outdoor Patio Furniture store in Rosenberg. So we have a raffle there that you can also participate in and get a brand new backyard paradise.
Beautiful.
We do these events not just because it's fun and going out, but we need to have more exposure in the community so that people are aware of these programs that we have helping people with food insecurities. As I mentioned, I've been in the community for a long time. There are still many people that are not aware of the needs that we have in the community and as well as the help that we have also.
Right.
So it's a combined effort. And one of our taglines, of course, what our mission stands on is hunger stops here. We really want to make a difference
Absolutely.
and stopping
Well, and just
hunger.
kind of add a little something to Becky here, even though we have many citizens out there that are not aware of the services that are available, Helping Hands distributed over 1 million pounds of food last year in Richmond, Texas. 1 million plus pounds.
Wow.
That's staggering. And it's going up. We expect to have around 30% increase in material that is given out this year. And
This year,
clients that
for
are
sure. And our volunteer hours, we have an excellent group of volunteers. I have one volunteer that's been there 40 years, so very mission-oriented. Again, we just want to bring out awareness and engage the community.
Come have a good time.
Come and have a good
Excellent.
time. That's right. Thank
Very
you very
good.
much for having me.
Thank you both for being here, and I appreciate everything that you do for the county. Kenneth, where do we learn more about your campaign?
No, well, I'm grateful for the last kickoff we had. We had an amazing kickoff event, and it was such a very warm, environment to see communities. And Mattress Mark was there, and he gave us his endorsement, and we are so excited to know that such a hero, Texas hero, is supporting our candidacy because he knows what we're made up of. But one last point here, just to tie this up before we go here, is that when I take a look at our county and take a look at counties that are of similar sizes, other counties are tightening their belt, right, around debt and all of these issues that they know can snowball into impacting negatively on the citizens. Fort Bend County is maximizing out the credit card, taking on more debt. It's time for leadership that puts our seniors and our families first, not convention centers or political projects. That's why we need a new leadership.
Great hour, guys. I appreciate it. I think
Thank
we
you.
really brought the point home. I think that we have gone off the road of what the political class wants us to be speaking about. And I hope that we are setting the course for the new direction in Fort Bend County, which is fiscally responsibly centric. And with that being said, I appreciate everyone here. This
you
is
for
Chris
having
Easley
us.
with the Chris Easley Radio Show. Stay tuned. We're going to do one more. All right. Have a great day. So you guys can hang out for a minute because he